Imagine you remember the exact words your third grade teacher said on a Tuesday morning in October. You remember every single dream you've ever had. You remember every embarrassing moment, every argument, every time someone was rude to you in a grocery store line, in perfect, crystal clear detail. Sounds like a superpower, right? It's not. And by the end of this video, you're going to be genuinely grateful that your brain is basically a goldfish with a filing problem. So here's the question. What if you never forgot anything? Not what if you had a slightly better memory, not what if you could remember where you put your keys. We're talking about total, photographic, unavoidable, inescapable recall of everything you have ever experienced in your entire life. Every second, every sensation, every feeling, every single moment, playing in your head, available forever, like a Netflix library you can never log out of. Sounds incredible. Let's ruin it for you. First, let's talk about what memory actually is, because most people have this completely backwards. You probably think of your memory like a video camera. It records things, stores them, and plays them back when you need them. Clean, accurate, reliable. Here's the first thing that should blow your mind. That's not even close to how it works. Your memory is not a recording, it's a reconstruction. Every single time you remember something, your brain is rebuilding that memory from scratch, like a contractor who works entirely from vibes and partial blueprints. Details get changed, emotions get amplified. Sometimes your brain just makes things up and confidently presents them to you as facts. This is not a bug. This is one of the most important features your brain has ever developed. And here's why that matters. There are real people alive right now who cannot forget anything. It's called Highly Superior Autobiographical Memory, or HSAM. And there are only about 60 confirmed cases in the world. These are people who, if you give them any date from their past, can tell you exactly what day of the week it was, what they ate for breakfast, what the weather was like, and what song was stuck in their head. Sounds amazing. So what's it like to actually live that way? One woman with HSAM described it like this. She said, "It's like watching a split-screen TV. On one side, there's the present. On the other side, there's the past. Constantly running, constantly replaying, whether she wants it to or not. She can't turn it off." Think about that. You're having a nice dinner with your family. But in the back of your mind, with equal clarity and vividness, you're also reliving every other dinner you've ever had. The good ones, the bad ones, the one where you said something awkward and everyone got quiet, that happy day when things went sideways, all of it, simultaneously. People with HSAM frequently report that it's exhausting, emotionally overwhelming, and deeply isolating. Because while the rest of us get to let things fade, the sting of embarrassment softens, the anger cools down, the grief becomes manageable. People with perfect memory experience every painful moment as if it just happened. Your ability to forget is not weakness, it is emotional mercy. But this wasn't even the biggest problem we found. Because what happens when you zoom out, when you apply perfect memory not just to one person, but imagine a whole world built around it. Let's do a thought experiment. You wake up tomorrow and you remember everything. Every conversation, every lesson, every experience, perfectly stored, perfectly accessible. Great start. You feel like a genius. You go to work, you reference things with incredible precision, your colleagues are impressed. Now it's been a week. You're walking down the street and you see a red traffic light. And your brain does not just see a red traffic light. Your brain sees every red traffic light you have ever seen. Every time you waited at one. Every song that was playing. Every argument you were having in the car. Every person who ever ran one. The memory doesn't replace the present. It layers on top of it, thicker and thicker, until the present moment is almost buried. This is actually something researchers call interference. And here's the counterintuitive part. The more you remember, the harder it becomes to focus on right now. Because your brain is constantly cross-referencing, constantly pulling up related files, constantly saying, "Oh, this reminds me of the time when..." Perfect memory doesn't make you smarter. It makes the present moment incredibly noisy. And here's where it gets genuinely strange. Your brain forgets on purpose. Not because it's lazy, not because it's bad at its job. It forgets because forgetting is the job. There's a reason you don't remember being 2 years old with perfect clarity. There's a reason your brain gradually softens the details of painful experiences. There's a reason that, after a good night's sleep, you often feel like things are a little more manageable than they did the night before. Sleep researchers have found that one of the things your brain is actually doing while you sleep is curating your memories, keeping what matters, trimming what doesn't, and crucially, dialing down the emotional intensity of difficult experiences. Your brain, every single night, is quietly doing emotional damage control on your behalf. Without that process, every trauma stays at full volume. Every loss feels as raw as the day it happened. Every failure, every rejection, every moment of humiliation, permanently preserved in perfect detail, permanently accessible, permanently painful. There's a reason that one of the most common features of PTSD is intrusive, unwanted memories that feel completely real. The disorder isn't that the person is imagining things. The disorder is that the brain's natural forgetting mechanism has been disrupted, and the memories have become stuck, vivid, present, inescapable. Perfect memory for everyone all the time would be a civilization of people living with permanent, inescapable emotional weight. But things get even stranger when you think about what forgetting does for creativity. Here's the part nobody talks about. Forgetting is actually where new ideas come from. Bear with me. When you forget the exact details of something, your brain doesn't just leave a blank space, it abstracts. It takes the general shape of an experience and files it as a concept. Instead of remembering every specific dog you've ever seen in full detail all at once, your brain builds a concept of dogness, a mental model, an abstraction. And abstractions are what allow you to think creatively, to problem solve, to recognize patterns across wildly different situations. If you remembered every specific dog perfectly, you'd be great at identifying those specific dogs. But you'd struggle to generalize. You'd struggle to recognize a completely new breed. You'd struggle to think this situation feels like that other situation from 3 years ago, because your brain would be too busy managing the photographic archives of both situations simultaneously. Creativity, it turns out, requires a certain amount of blurriness. Artists, writers, musicians, they're not working from a perfect catalog of experiences. They're working from impressions, feelings, vague recollections that have been quietly transformed by time and processing into something new. The story you tell about your childhood is not a recording of your childhood. It's an interpretation, shaped, colored, and made meaningful by the very process of imperfect remembering. Every great piece of art might actually be downstream of forgetting. Now here's what modern people get completely wrong about memory, and this one's going to sting a little. We treat forgetting like failure. We write things down obsessively because we're afraid we'll forget. We photograph every meal, every vacation, every sunset. We fill our phones with voice memos, and our notebooks with to-do lists, and our calendars with reminders, because the idea of something slipping through the cracks feels like losing it forever. But here's the irony, and researchers have actually studied this. When you take a photo of something, you remember it less clearly than if you just looked at it. Because when you know the camera is capturing it, your brain quietly checks out. Not my job anymore. The phone's got it. The experience of actually seeing, feeling, and absorbing the moment gets outsourced to a device, and you end up with a folder of 10,000 photos you never look at and memories that feel oddly thin. The very tools we use to fight forgetting might be making us worse at actually experiencing things. And there's something else. When we're afraid to forget, we're afraid to let go of grudges, of old versions of ourselves, of stories about who we are that stopped being true years ago. Perfect memory isn't just a cognitive condition, it's an emotional one. The people who can't let go of the past aren't suffering from too little memory, they're suffering from too much. The ability to forget is the ability to change. So let's bring this home, because there's a big lesson sitting at the middle of all of this that I don't want you to miss. Your memory is not a record of your life. It's a story you're constantly rewriting. And that is, depending on how you look at it, either terrifying or liberating. It's terrifying because you can't fully trust your own recollections. The things you're certain happened exactly this way, some of them didn't. The arguments you remember winning, some of them you didn't. The childhood you're sure you had, it's been edited, softened, and reframed so many times that the original is long gone. But it's liberating because it means the story isn't finished. It means the painful memories aren't permanent facts. It means who you are right now is not permanently defined by who you were back then. The brain's ability to rewrite the past isn't a flaw. It's the mechanism by which humans are capable of growth, recovery, and reinvention. The goldfish with a filing problem? It might be the most sophisticated thing in the universe. Here's how I want you to leave this video. The next time you forget something, a name, a date, where you put your keys, instead of feeling frustrated, consider the possibility that your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do: clearing space, reducing noise, letting go of what doesn't matter so you can actually be present for what does. And the next time you remember something, really remember it with feeling and color and detail. Understand that you're not playing back a file. You're constructing a story, which means you have more say in that story than you think. You're not a camera, you're an author. And the most powerful thing an author can do, sometimes, is decide what to leave out. If that made you think about your brain a little differently, share this with someone whose memory you've secretly always been jealous of, and then go live something worth imperfectly remembering.